I used to tell people my Pixie was wash and go, and then spend 15 minutes every morning fighting it into submission. And I never once admitted that out loud until now. If you've got a Pixie cut past 60 and something about it feels almost right but not quite, you're not imagining it. There are 7 really common mistakes women make with a short Pixie after 60. And most of them have nothing to do with the cut itself, and everything to do with small choices around it. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50 so you get real results fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, because I cover this every single week. Let's get into the first one, because it's the one almost nobody talks about. Part 1. The length mistake nobody warns you about. Here's something that surprised me the first time a stylist explained it. The exact same Pixie length that looked incredible on you at 45 can quietly work against you at 65. And it has nothing to do with your face changing shape. It's about what happens to hair density and skin as we age. When a Pixie is cut too short and too close to the scalp, it does something specific and unflattering. It exposes every inch of skin at the hairline and temple, and skin there tends to thin and lose some of its warmth and elasticity over time. A cut that reads as sleek and edgy on thicker, younger skin can end up reading as severe and aging on skin that's changed texture. That's the part nobody tells you at the salon chair, because most stylists are trained to cut for the shape you want, not necessarily for what your skin is doing at this exact stage of life. And here's the recognition moment, the one that made me wince a little. If you've ever looked in the mirror after a fresh Pixie trim and thought, why does this look harsher than I expected? It's very possibly this. Not your face. Not your features. Just length that's sitting a ½ inch too high against skin that needs a little more softness around it to look luminous instead of stark. So here's the one fix, and it's simpler than you'd think. Ask for what stylists call graduated length at the temple and crown, rather than a uniform close crop. This means the hair right at your hairline and temples is left slightly longer, maybe ½ inch to 1 inch, while the back and nape can still stay short and tailored. The effect is almost immediate. That small amount of extra length near the skin softens the transition between hair and face, catches light instead of exposing bare skin starkly, and gives your features something gentle to rest against instead of a hard graphic line. The way to actually communicate this at your next appointment matters too. Don't just say not too short. Say specifically, I want more graduated length through the temples and crown, closer to 1 inch, with the nape kept tighter. Stylists respond to specific language, and this phrase alone will change what scissors do near your hairline. If you want to test it before committing, ask your stylist to leave slightly more length on your very next trim, rather than cutting to the previous length automatically. Most Pixie mistakes compound because we default to the usual, appointment after appointment, without ever pausing to ask if the usual is still working for us. Here's the part that actually surprised me most. Once you have that graduated length in place, you get an unexpected bonus, styling versatility. A Pixie with a little extra length at the crown can be brushed one way for a soft, rounded look, or textured up for something sharper and more polished, depending on your mood or the day. A Pixie cut severely close everywhere really only styles one way, which is part of why it can start to feel monotonous or stuck rather than fresh. The snapback moment here is real. Women who make just this one adjustment often say the same thing. People stop commenting on how brave their haircut is and start commenting on how good their skin looks. That's not a coincidence. Softening the hair right at the skin does something for how bright and rested your whole face reads, almost like better lighting. Let's put it side by side, because the difference is genuinely visible in a single photograph. Before, a Pixie cut severely tight and close at the temples, hairline fully exposed, reading harsh under bright light. After, the same woman with graduated length left at the temples and crown, hairline softened, the whole face reading brighter and more approachable. But length isn't even the mistake that causes the most damage over time. The next one is quieter, it builds slowly, and by the time you notice it, it's already changed how your whole cut sits. Let's get into it. Part 2. The product and drying mistakes that flatten your shape. This one caught me off guard because it's not really about the cut at all. It's about 2 small habits most of us picked up decades ago and never questioned. And when you're working with short hair, small habits show up fast, because there's nowhere for them to hide. Mistake number 2 is using the wrong weight of product for short hair. So many of us reach for whatever styling cream or gel we've used for years, the same product that worked when our hair was longer and heavier. But a pixie has very little length or weight to begin with, and a heavy cream or wax collapses those short strands flat against the scalp instead of letting them lift. What looks like product on longer hair looks like grease and flatness on a pixie. I've heard stylists call this drowning the cut, which is such a visual way to put it, but it's exactly right. You end up smoothing away the very texture that made the pixie interesting in the first place. The recognition here might sting a little, and that's fine because it's an easy fix. If your pixie looks a little sad and pressed down by early afternoon, or if you find yourself constantly fluffing at the crown trying to bring it back to life, this is very likely why. It's not your hair being difficult. It's the product weight fighting against the very shortness that's supposed to make this cut feel light and easy. Mistake number 3, and this is the one that compounds it, is air drying or rough drying without any attention to direction. A lot of us either let a pixie air dry because it's short and doesn't need a blow dry, or we rough dry it quickly without actually directing the hair up and away from the scalp. Both habits let short hair dry in whatever direction gravity takes it, which, again, is usually flat and close to the head. So here's the one fix, and it actually solves both problems at once. Switch to a lightweight, volumizing mousse or a texture spray specifically made for fine to short hair, and blow dry with your fingers lifting the roots upward as it dries, rather than letting it dry flat or brushing it down. This isn't complicated or time-consuming. It typically adds about 90 seconds to your routine. The mousse gives short strands just enough grip to hold shape without weighing them down. And lifting at the root while drying trains the hair to sit up and away from the scalp instead of collapsing. Here's the part that really changes the daily experience of this cut. Once you get the root lift habit down, you stop needing to fix your hair throughout the day. That constant fluffing, patting, checking in mirrors, second-guessing whether it looks flat, it mostly disappears. The cut holds its shape from morning until evening instead of only looking good for the first hour after you leave the salon chair. And there's a bigger, quieter shift too. A pixie with real lift at the crown visually elongates your whole face and neck, which is part of why the right pixie can look so youthful and the wrong styling can look tired. Volume at the root isn't just about the hair looking fuller. It changes the proportions of your whole silhouette from the front. The snapback result here is one I hear constantly. Women say their pixie finally looks done by 10 in the morning instead of needing constant adjustment, and that alone changes how confident they feel walking into a room. Confidence really is often this practical. It's not a mindset shift, it's 90 seconds and the right product. Before and after, side by side, and this one's obvious the second you see it. Before, a pixie flattened close to the scalp, no lift, product weighing the crown down. After, the same woman with visible root lift, texture standing up and away from the scalp, the whole shape reading fuller and more alive. Now here's something I wasn't expecting to have to say, but it comes up more than you'd think, and it has to do with color, not cut or styling at all. Part 3. The color mistake that ages a pixie faster than anything. This is mistake number 4, and out of everything in this video, this is the one that surprised me most when I first heard a colorist explain it. Most of us think about hair color in terms of, do I go gray or do I keep dyeing it? As if that's the whole decision. But with a pixie specifically, there's a second, much less obvious factor. Flat, single-process color on very short hair reads differently than it does on longer hair, and usually not in a flattering way. Here's why. On longer hair, a single flat color has room to move, to catch light differently at the ends versus the roots, to show some natural shadow and depth just from length and movement alone. On a pixie, there's no length to create that natural variation. So if the color is applied as one completely uniform, flat shade, root to tip, the result can look almost helmet-like, like a solid block of color sitting on top of your head rather than hair with any depth or life to it. It's not that the color itself is wrong. It's that flatness reads as artificial in a way it simply doesn't on longer styles. And the recognition beat here might land harder than the others, because a lot of us specifically asked for one solid color, low maintenance, thinking that was the smart, practical choice. It often is more practical in terms of upkeep, but it can quietly work against the cut itself, making a stylish short shape read as flat and dated instead of sharp and intentional. So here's the one fix, and it's a conversation to have at your next color appointment. Ask for subtle dimensional color rather than flat single process. This means low lights and slightly lighter pieces woven through, usually just a shade or two apart from your base color, concentrated especially at the crown and around the face. You are not going lighter or more dramatic. You're adding depth within a narrow, natural-looking range, so the color has somewhere to catch light and cast soft shadow. The same way length would on longer hair. If you're gray or silver, this still applies, and it might matter even more. Uniform gray, styled flat, can look a little flat and one note the same way uniform brown or blonde can. Subtle tonal variation within silver, some cooler pieces, some slightly warmer, softens that uniformity and gives a silver pixie the kind of dimension that makes people ask what product you use, when really it's the color work doing the job. Here's what changes practically, and it's worth knowing before you ask for this. Dimensional color on a pixie actually tends to hide regrowth better than flat single process color, because there's already tonal variation built in. So the line at the root doesn't stand out as sharply between appointments. It's not just prettier, it's genuinely lower maintenance in a way that flat, low-maintenance color often isn't in practice. The result women describe after making just this change is almost always the same word: dimension. Their hair suddenly looks like it has movement and depth even though it's the exact same length it was before. That's the real snapback here. You don't need length to have depth. You need light and shadow built into the color itself. One more specific thing worth knowing. This technique works especially well concentrated just around the face and at the crown, the two areas that catch the most natural light throughout the day, and the two areas people actually look at when they look at you. You don't need it woven through the entire head to get the visual benefit. Before, a flat, uniform, single-tone color with no visible depth anywhere. After, the same woman with soft dimensional color, subtle variation catching light at the crown and around the face, the whole cut reading richer and more intentional. Now the next mistake is one that has nothing to do with cut, product, or color. It's about timing, and it might be the most avoidable one on this entire list. Part 4. The timing and fringe mistakes that let your pixie grow out wrong. This part covers two mistakes that are closely related, because they both come down to the same root issue: waiting too long between the moments this cut actually needs attention. Mistake number 5 is stretching your salon visits too far apart. A pixie is one of the lowest maintenance cuts to live with day to day, but it's also one of the highest maintenance cuts to keep looking sharp, because there's so little length that even a small amount of growth changes the entire shape. On longer hair, an extra 2 weeks of growth is barely noticeable. On a pixie, an extra 2 weeks can mean the difference between a crisp, intentional shape and something that started to look shaggy or shapeless around the edges, especially at the neckline and around the ears. If you've ever felt like your pixie just doesn't look the same a few weeks after your appointment, even though nothing dramatic happened, this is almost always why. It's not that the cut faded or your hair changed. It's that the shape itself is length dependent in a way longer styles simply aren't, and the calendar caught up with it before you noticed. So here's the fix for this one. Book your next appointment before you leave the salon, every single time. Space 4 to 5 weeks apart rather than the 6 to 8 weeks that's fine for longer cuts. Put it directly in your calendar with a reminder a few days before, so it never becomes something you're deciding whether to prioritize. Treat it the way you'd treat a standing commitment rather than an optional touch-up, because for a pixie, it functionally is one. This single scheduling habit does more to keep the cut looking sharp than almost anything you do with product. Mistake number 6 is closely related and often gets overlooked entirely: letting the fringe or face framing pieces grow past the point where they still flatter your eyes and brows. Fringe on a pixie does a lot of quiet work, softening the forehead, framing the eyes, balancing the rest of the short shape. When it grows out even slightly too long, it can start falling into the eyes, getting swept to the side in a way that looks accidental rather than styled, or losing the clean line that made it feel intentional in the first place. The fix here is small but specific. Ask your stylist to teach you a quick at-home fringe trim for the 2 to 3 weeks between full appointments. Just a small trim of the very front pieces, nothing structural. Most stylists are happy to show you this in under a minute, using small, sharp shears just on the front section. This keeps the fringe sitting exactly where it flatters your eyes the entire month. rather than only for the first 10 days after your appointment. Here's the snapback moment for both of these fixes together. Once your visits are properly spaced and your fringe is maintained in between, the whole cut stops having a good week and a bad week cycle. It looks essentially the same, sharp and intentional, on day 3 as it does on day 25. That consistency is honestly what makes a pixie red as elegant and put together rather than high maintenance, even though, ironically, it's the maintenance schedule itself that creates that effortless look. Before and after. Overgrown fringe falling into the eyes with a softened, undefined shape at the nape, next to the same woman with a precisely trimmed fringe and a crisp, defined shape throughout. There's one mistake left, and it's the one that ties every single fix in this video together. Skip it, and everything else you just learned won't matter nearly as much. Part 5. The mistake that undoes all the other fixes. Mistake number 7 is the quietest one on this list, and it's the one I almost didn't include, because it isn't really about hair at all. It's about not adjusting your pixie style to match how your face has changed over time, and specifically, treating the cut as a fixed, finished thing instead of something that gets small updates as you do. Here's the surprising part. Faces genuinely shift shape gradually over years, usually subtly, sometimes around the jaw, the cheeks, or the temples. A pixie shape that was cut to perfectly balance your face 10 or 15 years ago was balancing a face that looked slightly different than the one you have now. That doesn't mean the cut is wrong. It means it may never have been updated to reflect what's changed, because pixies feel so done and low effort that we tend to just keep requesting the same shape indefinitely without ever really reassessing it. The recognition beat here is a quiet one, but it lands. If you've had essentially the same pixie shape for years, requested the same way every single visit, and something about it feels slightly off, without you being able to say exactly why, this is very often the answer. It's not the cut failing you. It's the cut not having been asked to grow and change alongside you. So here's the fix, and it's the one that pulls everything else in this video together. Once a year, sit down with your stylist specifically to reassess the shape, not just trim it. Ask directly, does this length and shape still balance my face the way it used to, or has anything shifted that we should adjust for? This is a genuinely different conversation than a routine trim, and most stylists rarely get asked it, because most clients just say the usual out of habit. Bring it up explicitly, once a year, as its own separate conversation. This is also the moment to revisit everything covered in this video together, as a full picture rather than 5 separate fixes. Is the length still graduated enough at the temples for your current skin? Is the volume still lifting the way it should? Or has your hair's texture changed enough that the product needs updating too? Is the color still adding dimension? Or has it gone flat again without you noticing? Is the fringe still landing in the most flattering spot? A yearly reassessment is where all of this comes together into one cohesive, current look, instead of 5 disconnected habits. The result of this yearly check-in is honestly the biggest snapback of the entire video. Women who start doing this say their pixie stops feeling like something from 10 years ago that they're still wearing, and starts feeling like something chosen specifically for who they are right now. That's a completely different feeling to walk around with, even if the actual change to the cut is fairly small. And here's the thing that ties it back to everything else we've covered. Length, product, drying technique, color, scheduling, fringe maintenance, and this yearly reassessment aren't 7 separate unrelated tips. They're one system. Fix the length but ignore the color, and the cut still looks flat. Fix the color but let the fringe grow out, and it still looks tired. It's the combination, checked and adjusted together once a year, that makes a pixie look genuinely current rather than simply short. Before, a pixie shape unchanged for years, rigid and slightly disconnected from her current face. After, the same woman with a thoughtfully reassessed, updated shape that balances her face as it looks today. That's all 7, and honestly, the last one is the one I'd want you to remember most. So here's where you actually land after all of this. Your pixie was never the problem, the 7 small habits around it were, from length at the temples, to product weight, to color dimension, to scheduling, right through to that yearly reassessment most women never think to ask for. Fix even 2 or 3 of these and the whole cut starts reading sharper, softer, and more current all at once. Tell me in the comments, which of these 7 mistakes did you recognize yourself in first? I read every single one. Next week I'm covering the exact questions to ask your colorist before your next appointment, so you walk in knowing precisely what to request. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Beauty, and I'll see you in the next one.